What about EVs that have the shortest range? Which automobiles ought not be brought on your upcoming road trip? Since a few years ago, Edmunds has conducted official range tests on each electric vehicle and has made the findings available on our EV range leaderboard. Why? Because the transition to EVs is not without its growing pains. Maximum range continues to be one of the most crucial considerations for potential purchasers. The Lucid Air, Mercedes-Benz EQS, and BMW X are at the top of the scoreboard, along with more cost-effective options like the Ford F-150 Lightning and Tesla Model 3. What about the EVs that let us down during the range test, on the other hand? Those with very tiny battery packs that cannot go to Costco without being recharged. The ones that fell short of the EPA's modest expectations. The ones that left us shivering on the side of the road as we awaited the tow truck to rescue us. Okay, so we're being a little dramatic, but you get the point. Here are the 10 EVs with the worst range according to our testing team's measurements. Also subscribe to our channel before we start. Number 10. Volvo C40 Recharge. The sleeker, electric-only relative of the boxier Volvo XC40 Recharge is the Volvo C40 Recharge. Spoiler alert. More on it later. With rapid acceleration, a cutting-edge infotainment system, and a luxurious interior, the C40 has a lot going for it. On paper, the 78 kilowatt-hour pack capacity should have enough power. However, the C40 is astonishingly thirsty, consuming 39 kilowatt-hours every 100 miles according to estimates. As a point of comparison, the Tesla Model I long range is only expected to use 28 kilowatt-hours / 100 miles. Number 9. Porsche Taycan 4 S-Cross Turismo. One of our favorite luxury EVs is the Porsche Taycan, and the Cross Turismo version, which is a wagon, is even better. It's one of the few high-end luxury wagons available, combining SUV-like utility with a Porsche sedan's excellent ability to follow the road. Its maximum range, though, is very depressing. The 4S version we tested had 22-inch wheels, which looked terrific but reduced range a little. The EPA estimates the Taycan 4 S-Cross Turismo's range at 230 miles, but we went farther, clocking in at 250 miles. Number 8. Audi e-tron. The Audi e-tron, a midsize SUV that has lost some of its luster since its 2019 introduction, is another vehicle that makes our naughty list. We found it to be satisfactory back then, but since more modern rivals have entered the market, the e-tron is no longer the essential electric vehicle. Audi has taken notice and is preparing the Q80 Tron, a newly updated vehicle, for 2024. The EPA estimates that the current e-tron can only drive 226 miles before the battery runs out. Thankfully, we recorded a 248-mile EV alleywation loop that was more competitive. Number 7. Mercedes-Benz EQB 350. The Mercedes-Benz EQB, in contrast to some of the other cars on this list, isn't specifically designed to be an electric vehicle. Instead, it borrows heavily on the design of the gas-powered GLB. You can get the general idea by swapping out the engine for a battery pack. The Ford Focus Electric and Toyota RAV4 EV are just two instances of numerous of these Frankenstein-like concoctions that were rather widespread in the early days of EVs, but their inherent packaging inefficiencies make them less appealing in the present day. The EQB 350's limitations are evident in its tepid 227-mile EPA estimate, which we outperformed with 242 miles on our loop. Number 6. Volvo XC40 Recharge. In that they share a platform with a gas-powered base car, in this case the Volvo XC40, the Volvo XC40 Recharge, and the related C40 Recharge are comparable to the EQB, and as a result, this small SUV isn't really designed for use with electric vehicles. The XC40 Recharge has much of the same highs and lows as the C40, but thanks to its square design, it has more load space and better back headroom. Unfortunately, the C40's wing-swept roofline appears to have some aerodynamic advantages, as the boxier XC40 requires refueling a little bit sooner. EPA estimates the XC40 Recharge to have a meager 223 miles of range, yet we went 240 miles before the electricity ran out. Number 5. Audi e-tron Sportback. The Audi e-tron Sportback and the e-tron are two bites at the same apple, much as the XC40 Recharge and C40 Recharge are. The C40 parallel in this case is the e-tron Sportback, which has a sportier, probably more appealing look, but less headroom and baggage space. Surprisingly, the Sportback actually has less range than its more traditional-looking relative. The EPA estimates it will travel 225 miles on a single charge, just 1 mile less than the conventional e-tron, yet on our loop it only covered 238 miles, a 10-mile gap between the two vehicles. Number 4. Nissan Leaf Plus. Despite Mr. Musk's arrogant stare, the Nissan Leaf was the first EV designed with the general public in mind. This tiny hatchback's first version made its debut in 2011. At the time, the Leaf's tiny 24 kilowatt-hours battery barely provided triple-digit range, but advancements over time, along with a complete redesign in 2018, made the Leaf more competitive. We examined the Leaf Plus, which uses a 62 kilowatt-hours battery of average size. The pack simply isn't big enough to keep up with the big boys, despite the fact that the car is very small and light by EV standards. The EPA rates the Leaf Plus at 212 miles, but we traveled 237 miles before needing to charge in once more. Be aware that there is a Leaf with a 40 kilowatt-hours battery that costs less. Although we haven't tested this version, the EPA's prediction of a range of 149 miles isn't encouraging. Number 3. Toyota bZ4X Limited F2D. The Toyota bZ4X may be the biggest electric car snooze of all time. Curious EV buyers put off by quirky hatchbacks and Elon Musk's shenanigans were only waiting for the king of dependability to unveil its first contemporary EV. However, the bZ4X requires so many concessions from users that it is difficult to suggest. The SUV has an uncomfortable driving stance, weak electric motors, and a two-tone paint job that makes it look like a dejected panda. The range is another factor. Our findings contradict the EPA's claim that the conventional single-motor bZ4X travels 242 miles on a single charge. The bZ4X Limited could only travel 227 miles on our test loop before we had to plug in at home base. The cheaper XL, with a mileage rating of 252, was also put to the test. On that one, we noted a range of 237 miles. As a result of these findings, the bZ4X has the unfortunate distinction of being one of the few cars we've examined that can't surpass its EPA estimate. Number 2. Mini Cooper Southeast. The Mini Cooper Southeast, or Mini Electric Hardtop two-door, to follow Mini's nomenclature tradition. This consistently endearing hatch has a lot of personality in a tiny package. It has a cute appearance, elegant interior materials, and surprising punch, with a rapid 0-60 miles per hour pace of 6.4 seconds. Nevertheless, you were undoubtedly aware going into this that the Mini wouldn't break any records for range. It uses a 32.6 kilowatt-hours battery, which is about half the size of packs in vehicles with comparable prices. According to the EPA, it can only drive 114 miles on a charge, but in our testing, it exceeded that limit and went 150 miles before needing a plug-in. Number 1. Mazda MX-30. And now for something truly mysterious. Although Mazda has a devoted following, several of our editors are among them. The automaker lacks the broad appeal and substantial financial resources of a powerhouse like Toyota, Honda, or Hyundai. As a result, we had reasonable hopes for Mazda's first fully electric vehicle. However, there was no way for us to be ready for the MX-30. Making it an SUV, which is currently quite popular, outfitting the interior with hip and environmentally friendly materials like cork were two excellent choices made by Mazda. The back half doors with a rear hinge, which are just half as functional as full-size ones, are where the problems begin. They open to reveal a passenger area with extremely limited space for back legroom in an SUV. The engine, which consists of a single 143 horsepower electric motor and a 35.5 kilowatt-hours pack, is the biggest problem. According to the EPA, the latter only offers a range of 100 miles, while the former has a sluggish 9-second 0-60 miles per hour acceleration time. The MX-30 had a range of 114 miles during our EV loop, but that was not enough to prevent it from becoming the EV with the lowest range available. Crossing our fingers for big EV2 advancements from Mazda. Subscribe to our channel to learn more. Thanks for watching.